Welcome to episode 160 of the Artcasters, which is the show that I do every other week with Scott Cirkland. And it alternates between our two channels where we talk about art and cartooning and illustration and a lot of the ins and outs of that kind of stuff. And we're joined with a weekly guest. So we'll get to introducing in a second. And for now, we'll just make the rounds. So you're on my channel. You know where to find my stuff. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe. Hit the little bell so you get a notification. And check out my stuff at Quarterly Stories. Scott, where can we find your stuff?
You can find me at Serkworks.com. That's spelled Serkworks. And if you go to Serkworks.com, I have a comic maker starter kit. So if you want to create comics, it's a digital pack, and it comes with tons of stuff that you can use to create comics. It's got brushes, it's got fonts, it's got templates, it's got sound effects, it's got like just all kinds of cool stuff. And it is totally free, and you just sign up. All you have to do is sign up for the mailing list, which also has a lot of value because there's exclusive videos. There's going to be other freebies through the newsletter and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's all you have to do to get that, and you'll be on your way to creating some cool comics.
Nice. And how much was that again?
It was FREE free.
All right. That sounds like a deal. You guys should go sign up. All right. And our guest, we're joined with super talented cartoonist, artist, Vincent Deporter, who we've had on before and we're pleased to have on again. So Vincent, welcome. Where can people find your stuff?
Usually under my bed. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook and also Instagram. Always Vincent Deporter. And otherwise, I don't have a website. So I'm kind of lame.
Nice. And so, yeah, if you guys look in the links too, you can go. I think it's gone directly to Vincent's Instagram, so you should add and follow Vincent's stuff because incredible stuff.
Get some followers on Instagram, and I realized that I don't follow many people, although I follow more people than I'm being followed. And I don't know. I just don't. I hear that you have to follow others, so others follow you, and I'm like, I just want to follow my friends, or else I'm going to have to go through all this kind of. I don't want to do that, so I guess I'm just going to be unfollowed mostly.
Well, Instagram's a weird one too because I've noticed, unlike most social media platforms, like that one is really very like subscribe bait filled, where it's like people subscribe to you and then unsubscribe the second you subscribe to them. It's this weird like gaming thing that I see just so prevalently with that I don't really see anywhere else. Like generally other places, when somebody subscribes, they kind of stick with you for a bit. Yeah. But Instagram, it's like literally like the second you actually equally subscribe to someone, they unsubscribe. It's a weird, I don't know. I think there's a lot of bots.
It seems like it's really easy to game Instagram, at least if that's all you want is followers. Like somebody reached out to me and I went to their Instagram and they had like I don't know, it was like 50,000 followers or something crazy like that. And they only had like 6 posts and not too many likes compared. So I think it was just all, I don't know if it was paid for or bots or whatever. I just don't know. Instagram's a weird one.
Weird because on Instagram you want to follow your friends, and if you have 500 people that you follow, then your friends, their stuff. I don't have time to scroll down for hours to see my friend's stuff at the 51st. So I don't know. I'm following already too many people. I think 400 something, and I don't have as many followers that I follow. So it's like I don't know. But it is very funny. I've seen 10 followers one day. Wow, it's I got 10 more, and then the next day I have 30 less.
Yeah. I don't know why, but for like the last like 4 months, my account's gone up like 20 subscribers, and then it'll go down 20 subscribers. Like it's been good ebbing and flowing for like 4 months, like from the same two numbers.
Game. I'm not sure I want to play the game where I follow me. It's like you follow me if you like what you see. If you don't follow me. I'm not going to follow you if all you do is show pictures of your cat, I don't give a crap about your cat.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I think that's the best way to go about it, honestly. Like, you shouldn't be following people on Instagram that you don't want to follow. Like, you should be following people you want to follow. And Vincent's work is worth following, so go follow it. So for the topic today, we were thinking about, it's kind of getting towards the end of the year. I'm doubting we're going to do like an Artcasters next week. I don't know. Maybe we will.
I think no. Well, I already tried to schedule somebody, so
okay. I think we can do it
because it's not. I mean, it's after Christmas and it's before New Year, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. But
it might be but it's one of the last. This is going to be one of the last ones of the year, and so we thought it would be fun to just kind of recap a little bit of what our 2018 was like, what we're kind of looking forward to in 2019, and basically like like I wouldn't say resolutions, but I'd just say kind of goals for the year, like where we kind of see it or hope we see it going. And so I think it's, it's a good topic of conversation. It's a good practice for us as pros to like be looking back on like what worked, what didn't work, like what growth we've made as artists, what kind of progress we've made on our own personal projects, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the rough idea of this. So Vincent, like how's your 2018 been? What's your perspective on the year, on like, I don't know, just in general, like a recap of like artistically like that year, and then we'll kind of go to Scott and myself and stuff.
Well, it's for me, it's been a bit difficult. It was a difficult year because I lost SpongeBob Comics, which I was writing and drawing for. I didn't know at the time that I knew that it was because Steven Hillenburg was not feeling well. I knew he had ALS, but it was a total shock that he died so soon. I thought he still had a couple of years to go. From what I understood, obviously I didn't know, but that was a big hit, and so I lost my main income, really.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult. I took up on what I would call a day job, but I don't like to call it that because it's one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had, and that is to take care of children with special needs. And I went through all the official things to be to do that, and I enjoy that thoroughly. I do that at halftime because my health doesn't permit me to do more, and the rest of the day I draw. I did projects. So this year was a year of projects. It's going to be forever the year of a sad loss. To lose Steven Hillenburg is just horrible. But his legacy is wonderful, and I don't think SpongeBob will go anywhere soon. So I will say this, I finished my first script for the TV show that I sent to the main people that take care of SpongeBob, and they haven't answered so far. So I'm not expecting to be one of the new writers of SpongeBob, but at least I know that the friends that got that in hand will at least steer me towards either ideally SpongeBob, but to other cartoons that are made.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon, and if anything, I'll get feedback to see if I was doing well. I actually did the script of that comic book I did, where SpongeBob gets subpoenaed by the jellyfish for taking their jelly, and so it's even funnier as an episode. Actually, I really laughed. I rarely laugh at my own jokes, but I thought this one was really funny to translate into a 11-minute show. So I don't know. We'll see. I certainly hesitated to send it after I was almost finished. I mean, I was finished. I just did a few revisions, but I was finished before I knew about Steven Hillenburg's death, so I didn't want to send it right away. Like, I'm going to take advantage of this. That was not my goal at all. But I did lose my job, and I did want to find a way to stay with SpongeBob if possible. So I've been writing screenplays for years now, more for myself. To be honest, I don't know if a lot of people do that, but I write every one of my stories in screenplays for comics, because it's easier to separate the panels like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's kind of in the screenplay format too.
Yeah.
The format that I use.
I use Scrivener to write my comics, and I write it. I use a method because it's better, and because you don't waste your time saying things that are not on screen or on panel.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's actually great advice because, like, the last graphic novel that I finished that I'm never really going to release,
Yeah.
I made the mistake of thinking, because I had read some interviews with a couple cartoonists I admired who are definitely different brained than I am, where they talked about just kind of doing it panel by panel and letting the story kind of create itself. And so I was like, that's what I'll do. I'll just come up with like a rough arc of how I want the story to go. And what I wound up with was like a story that had a bunch of plot holes and never resolved. And then when it was resolved, it felt a little like cop out stuff because I was having to kind of tie off all these like tangents that never resolved. And so like approaching what I'm working on now, learning the lesson the hard way. Now I totally write it out. I have like, you know, friends who are editors and stuff like look at it and spell check it and give tips on story. And, you know, I do a couple drafts and then I get to the cartooning because it's like so labor intensive to do the art that it's a shame to kind of waste the time on the art, like, you know, on stuff unnecessary parts that you don't have to draw, or like, you know, maybe a sequence that could have been better had it been pre-written. So I think it's brilliant advice.
I do a treatment, a 2-3 page treatment of the whole story, which I will follow or not, but it's a great guide. Let me show you something. Let me get something for you.
Yeah, well, he's doing that. I was going to say because Vincent, I would think that you have better chance than anyone as far as writing for SpongeBob, having such a history with the character and having written for the comic book and everything. So
yeah, for sure.
I tend to be more a fan of the first seasons.
Yeah,
that's where I want to stay. I want to stay simple. I think that, and I understand. I mean, when you've been writing for a long time, you start making, you know, extraterrestrials, and you start going not the easy way always, but well, you know what I mean. For me, the genius of SpongeBob is when he plays with a piece of paper, or that he makes bubbles, or but for stories like 4-issue stories, or stories I do for Europe, which I'm doing right now. This is my Bible.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. You guys know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen the movie adaptation.
I haven't, but
you have to see it.
Okay.
It's so good.
It's so good. It's basically Maki is played by the actor that plays
wasn't it Nicolas Cage, or am I thinking no?
Yeah, Nicolas Cage plays 2 characters. It's really brilliant. I think it's funny. But there's a what's his name that plays Maki in that, because the whole story. Well, I won't say it. You have to watch it. But it's about following. There's some things about writing stories that work and some that don't. I love independent movies because they take the book I just showed you. They actually don't care about what's written in there. They go their own way, and I like them for that. But if you want to make a blockbuster, you want to make some money, you better read the book. You know, if you look at my book, it's all. You know,
yeah.
There's a bunch of moments where I always go back to it. It's like a Bible for me. And so when I write a story, I'm very careful of the character development and stuff like that. And then I write. But then when I do it organically. I just go. I have my I refer to my treatment. But what I do is I just write as I'm watching the movie. I always think movie. I don't think comic book. Although the goal is to do the comic book. But then the story I'm doing right now, it's going to be a 44-pager for normally in French, normally. But it could also be a 4-issue comic book. I'm not sure yet. But I will say this. It will already be a movie, an hour-and-a-half movie. it will be a script, a screenplay, legit.
Yeah.
So I might shop it around.
Yeah, the only thing that I kind of worry, because the one thing I like about comics is there's so many things that you can only do with comics. So I think you might be doing yourself a little bit of a disservice if you're just thinking of it as a movie, because
it depends. I agree with you, but it depends. My favorite comic book artist is and writer is Hergé. The guy who did Tintin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you look at his comic books, it is a movie. I mean, it's so much a movie that every panel is the same. It's on the same level. He doesn't go this way and that way. You see, it's like the camera is there, and you are behind the camera, panning around and going and following Tintin and Captain Haddock, for example, or Milou. But the thing is, it has such power, storytelling, that you don't really. I read comics today. I don't even read them. I look at the drawings because they're beautifully, the camera angles and everything. But it does nothing for the story. Nothing. To my opinion, I mean, that's my opinion. I'm not right. I just hate it. What I like is Tintin is my favorite because it's on your eye level, right? And once in a while you have a big panel or something, but very, very rarely it's almost like a comic strip, 4 comic strips on a page. I think it helps for the storytelling. That's my point of view. Sometimes my favorite American comic book is, and by far, is Mad Love from Dini and Bruce Timm, Batman's Mad Love, where he introduces for the first time Harlequin. I think that's the best one. But if you look at it, it's a 9 panel, basically a stencil of 9 panels, and you read that like you're watching a movie. I'm for that, but I agree with you though. You could do a comic book for comic book's sake, and it's just not my thing personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in between because I've seen comics done really effectively. Like I would say, weirdly enough, like Fun Home's a good example of a comic that could be a movie or a play and work quite effectively, the way it's paneled. But then if I ever like imagine somebody trying to make like Jimmy Corrigan by Chris Ware into a movie, I feel sick because I'm like, it wouldn't work as a movie. It only works as a comic. And it's brilliant. So
although if you see Into the Spider-Verse, you'll see where they actually were able to come about as close as you can get to a comic book in a movie.
Yeah.
When you see
I keep hearing about this.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's so good.
The thing is this. Yes, I agree. It's not always possible. It's very hard to do. Like if you take Moebius or Jean Giraud. If you take his stuff, they tried to do a movie Blueberry in France. It kind of sucked. I mean, on the other hand, Valerian, I think, was great. I thought Valerian was my childhood comic book reading of Mézières, and when they did the movie, that came out, didn't work at all in America. Just flopped. I thought it was one of the best movies that year, but it flopped here. I get it. It's a culture thing too,
Oh yeah, well, I'm it's funny because I'm unpopular among a lot of comics snobs because I really enjoyed Watchmen the movie.
I mean, too.
And a lot of people are like, no, it's like it killed the comic, and I'm like, no, it was pretty loyal to it.
It was very, very loyal. It's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
I agree. I liked it. I think it's the only thing, probably one of the only things by Zack Snyder that I like. But
the only thing that bothered me, I'll tell you honestly, what bothered me is that cartoon in the middle. I didn't think it was useful.
Yeah.
It was like having commercials in the middle of a movie. It really bothered me.
Yeah,
I'd agree. So good. It was so good beyond the cartoon, which I thought was totally useless, but the rest was just freaking amazing. I mean, and I thought Rorschach was like my favorite character of all time.
Yeah. Well, and it is weird, like the whole comics versus movies thing, because like another example of a comic I didn't think would adapt well, and then I actually liked the adaptation more than the comic was Scott Pilgrim. And I loved those comics, but I remember when they announced that it was going to be made, I loved the director too, and I was just like, I can't see it happening because it's just such a comic, Right. But they did such a good job.
It's not easy because it's 2 different mediums.
Yeah.
So I choose to write cinematography,
yeah.
Because that's what I like to read when I read comics. Now, this being said, there are new comics. Like for me, and it's not just because we became friends. But I think that Eden is one of the best laid out comic, and it doesn't follow the Tintin thing, but his layouts are totally effective.
Yeah, and that's just, if anyone's not familiar, that's Eric Henson from Alterna, and hopefully we're going to get him on the show pretty soon. We'll see.
A nice guy, but I am still. I mean, I'm a fan of his, and we compare each other. We compliment each other on each other's work. But I really think his stuff is solid, and his layouts are more like the cameras that go different places. But I think his layouts are pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think there are unique things that you can do in comics, and but there are also comics that would adapt well. I think it just kind of depends. It's unfortunately one of those, like for me, one of those boring answers of it really just depends on the comic, you know.
I'm looking here at my to remember what it's called. Let me see. I read comics on a thing called I'll get there. Webtoon.
Okay, yeah.
And some of those, are comics they adapt for the the vertical telephone and tablet reading. But some of them, I've been reading one lately where when you scroll down, it's like scrolling down with a camera. It's like, whoa, this is awesome, man.
Yeah.
Which one was I reading like that? I was like, dude, this is like better than looking at comic book, because he uses or she, I forget who it is that I'll find it. What did I read? I thought it was awesome. And when you read it, it's like, I forget. Okay, I just won't look.
Like the Eternal Canvas thing, where it kind of it's using the scroll for the story beat,
right? And you're scrolling, and then you see the perspective of the building, and it's not animated. It's just the way it's drawn, and it's just fantastic.
That's brilliant. Yeah, like I've thought about that, because I do post my comic online, but I'm a print junkie, so like my end goal is to see it in print. But there are times where I'm like, man, I should design something that's specifically for the web.
Like you, I'm definitely a paper. I like to have comic books in my hand. I've just lately, my son said you should try a webtoon, and there's some really good stuff. There's a guy that did Deadpool that did this little comic in there. It's hilarious. It's really great. But I started reading things, but then I fell on some of these artists that really use the phone format.
Yeah.
Scrolling down to make it's like, oh, wow, dude, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Really cool, man.
Yeah, I'm always impressed by that. Like people who can use that as a medium.
Yeah, it's very tempting, but the problem is that Webtoon, you can make $2,000 a month, every month, if you get to a certain level. That's their guarantee, and there's some artists are making a lot. I mean, I don't make $2,000 a month, to be honest with you. So even when I was doing SpongeBob, I would make a lot, but like for 2 months I would have nothing. Right? But I honestly, it's tempting, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. I'm kind of considering that, because right now I host on Tapas and then on my own website, but Tapas has like a whole different program where it's like you get to a level of subscriptions and then you start getting advertising revenue.
It's like Webtoon, yeah.
Yeah, people can tip you with like ink, but I think Webtoons is connected to Patreon, which is brilliant. So it's like it's giving you a revenue stream that, let's say Webtoons disappeared next week, you still have patrons.
I looked into it. So far, the one that's most attractive is Webtoon.
Yeah,
they have great comic books on there. I mean, great stuff. Good movies too.
What do you think about doing both, Josh, or do you think you're splitting your audience by doing that?
I think I might, but right now, like what I've been doing with Tapas is just because I have so many pages, I can update like one page a week for probably till the end of this upcoming year, and then at that point, I'll be out of pages, but I'll probably have a book to promote.
Right.
At that point, if Tapas hasn't picked up, I probably will try Webtoons. Maybe, I don't know.
And Webtoons, I think, have a preference for people who are already published, anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm looking into it because just last week I was watching. I'll check it out, but I was reading this comic book and I thought, wow, man, this is really good. It's this kid that I forget what the story is. I read so much stuff and I forget what it was, but it was really, really good. I wish I could find it. Where can I find what I read? I should be subscribed to it since I read all the episodes so far. Anyways, there's a lot of good stuff, but if I find it, I'll tell you what it is. But I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just kind of remembered like I got so into this conversation, I kind of forgot the topic for a second.
We were getting off, but it was such a good
It was so good. I love it.
I mean, that could have been our topipic, is just like the difference between movies and comics and all that stuff. But
I do love it.
But since we already named the episode, maybe we should get back on topic.
So Scott, okay, so let's get to you. How was your 2018? What were kind of some of the ups and downs, and then like where do you foresee like 2019? And then Vincent, we'll go back to you and get your 2019 kind of hopes. I'm not even going to say goals. I'm going to just say hopes.
I just want to say just one thing. The thing is called Urban Animal on Webtoons.
Oh, Urban Animal. Okay, that's the thing on Webtoons that really uses the scroll. That's awesome.
Check it out. It's not all the time, but sometimes it's just yeah.
So sorry. Can you say that one more time? Because I'm going to just write it down.
Urban Animal.
Urban.
On Webtoon. And you have another one called Outrage by the guy who created Deadpool.
Nice.
More comedy, but it's really great stuff.
I love it. So we'll check those out. Okay, so Scott, 2018, what did it look like?
So 2018 was kind of a weird year. In some ways, it kind of mirrors some of what Vincent talked about towards the end of the year. But previous to October, everything was going quite well. I mean, I had the day job as an illustrator, and I was doing my side hustle, building my brand and building Circworks up and all that kind of stuff. And then I found out later in the year that the company was just pretty much in a lot of ways pretty much dissolving. I mean, there's still something there, and it's what's left is kind of getting absorbed into the parent company, everything. But I kind of lost that day job. So that was kind of, that was a blow. But up until that, so basically, if you look back at this year for me, I mean, it was it might have been my most successful year as far as, because I had the day job, plus I had, I was making quite a bit of money in freelance and also, on my own stuff. So, but now it's going to be totally different. So I was kind of faced with like a decision on, what do I do? So, right now I'm kind of at the point where at first I was kind of looking for some full-time stuff, and now I'm kind of at the point where I think I'm just going to try to see if I can use my freelance work to basically cover whatever expenses I need to get by. It's going to be kind of slim, but I think I can do that. And the cool thing is I have so much more free time, and now I'm used to that free time because I'm getting to work on my own stuff and everything. So, so that's cool. But I did accomplish a lot. So I've done one of the things. I mean, most of the things that I set out to do, I think I actually accomplished. But I wanted to start getting into doing more digital products, and specifically the thing that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, the Comic Maker Starter Kit. That was a big thing to get that finished and everything, and get that launched, and to launch a newsletter, because if you ask, almost anyone will tell you, these social media like YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, they're all great, but what happens if they go away or whatever? You don't own that platform. You don't own your audience on a platform like that.
Yeah.
So everyone says you need to build a mailing list. And one of the best ways to do that is to offer something of value for free. And I think I may have went overboard, but I don't care, because it's so far people are really liking it a lot. Because I mean, most people give like I even watched some videos where they're saying, well, if you don't know what to create for your lead magnet, which is kind of the industry term for the thing that gets people on your mailing list, oh, go to one of these websites and there's these free books that somebody else wrote that you can just give away.
Oh, geez.
Certain things like that, or and a lot of these things, some of them have some value, but not of them. But a lot of them aren't really. I don't know. They're not what I put into what I did. The thing that I did is like something that I could sell. I could actually sell, and I will do an even bigger version that I will sell. But there's a lot of value there. So because of
like
that,
custom type faces and like halftone screens and explosion bubbles and just all sorts of stuff that most people would pay pretty good money for.
Yeah.
So it is a pretty good.
And that's kind of what I wanted to do. I wanted to make something that it was just really hard to resist.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And as a result, I mean, so far it's been successful. I've got people joining the mailing list, constantly. So, and it's going to tie into everything I do, because we'll talk more about, 2019, but I'm going to do a series of video, and that starter kit is going to play heavily into that. So I've got kind of big plans for that. So I'm glad that I kind of finished that. Now I've got the mailing list, and that's such a kind of weight off my shoulders, because it's like I really need to get a mailing list. And people are telling me, you need to get a mailing list, and now I've got one. So that's super cool. And I got the newsletter and everything. And so far I've sent out 2 newsletters. I'm going to try to, at least for now, try to send one out every month. I put up a new website. So I got a brand new website, and I'm really happy with the way that came out. Last week, I finished my comic book, issue 4 of Young and the Dead. I did another successful run on Inktober, and that's another thing that I got to work on in 2019. I'll talk about, but like in my Instagram, because when I was doing Inktober and I was posting all those drawings to Instagram, I was posting every day, and it was getting a lot of positive reaction. And it was kind of a little different style that I'm used to working with. And the only thing I worry about that is that there's a lot of people that really like that particular style, and though I like working in it, I don't know that I want that to be my thing necessarily. So every once in a while I get people like, oh, you should do more of that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that stuff's fun, but that's not exactly what I want to do all the time. But anyway, so I did that. So I'm pretty happy with all the stuff I've produced. And even though, losing the job is kind of a blow, I'm thinking I'm starting to think it's for the best, because I think as long as I can keep this thing going and everything, I'm going to have a lot more time that I can focus more on, putting more YouTube videos out and all the other stuff that I didn't really have time to do before. I mean, I always posted consistently, like every week. I try to post 2 videos, especially if you include the Artcasters, I almost always post 2 videos. So days where Artcasters is on your channel, I'll post two videos on my channel. And when it's on my channel, I'll post 1 plus the Artcasters. So there's always 2 videos a week on my channel. But I'd like to do more. I'd like to do more series, and there's a bunch of other stuff that I want to do. And now I kind of have the time to do that. It's just my biggest thing now is going to be trying to create some kind of schedule so I can do that stuff and be effective in putting that stuff out. So all in all, I mean, other than the fact that I lost my job as an illustrator, which finding a full-time job as an illustrator is the easiest thing. There's not a lot of those out there. So, I mean, it was kind of cushy for me to have that, but in some ways I was kind of getting to the point where I was getting a little burnt out with it. And, and eventually I did want to kind of move into doing my own stuff, and I was kind of forced to do that. So I wasn't quite where I needed to be before I could kind of jump into that. But now it seems like I think I might be able to make it work. So we'll see. Stay tuned, I guess.
Yeah.
So what about you? What about you, Josh?
So it's been such an interesting year. I've gotten further along on this graphic novel, and it's looking like by mid 2019, I should be done and putting it out one way or another, which is kind of exciting to me. I got in the NCS, which was cool. The local chapter of LA. I'm thinking about going for like the country version of the NCS, because it's just super fun. And also because like they are having like I guess they're having the Reuben Awards in Huntington Beach, which is in my neck of the woods. And so it wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of try to do that before that thing so I can go for free. That would be, just for the fee to be a part of it. So that was cool. Because through that, I got to meet a lot of my heroes and talk to a lot of really meet people, bump heads with people who have way more success than I've ever had. And that's always really inspiring. Because I always try to be the stupidest person in the room. Honestly, it's kind of a goal of mine is always to try to be around people who are smarter than me. Starting the 48-hour art check was cool with Corey Kerr, where we're kind of holding each other accountable on our personal projects, because it's so easy to get lost in that just chasing the next paycheck kind of thing, and just forgetting the big vision that may not be the most financially great thing, but it's the thing you want to do. So it's good to have a little accountability with that. So that's been really cool and fun. And then the byproduct of that is just getting to talk art more with people. So that's been really cool. I got to meet Eric Idle from Monty Python at an art show. That was probably the peak of my year, was being able to meet one of the Pythons, because that was a huge chunk of my childhood. And then the weird thing is it's been so stressful where I work as an art director, but we ended the year up again. So since I've started as an art director, I've brought the company I work for just profit every single year, and it's gone up every year. And so to me, that for as temporary as the whole creative positions can be, that's a nice way to end the year, because it's I feel a little more secure, even though that's all kind of illusory, because I know enough people in creative to know that tomorrow it could be gone. But I'm enjoying art directing and learning how to manage people and kind of the headache and puzzle of that. And then just really enjoying my kid this year. I've been enjoying my kid every year, but it seems like it gets better every year. And so I'm really excited about the next year for that. But I think creatively, I'm really excited about next year, because I feel even with my job too, my personal job, a lot of my first years as an art director was laying groundwork for stuff that's actually happening now. And it's very similar with my own personal work, where it's I've been kind of carving away at this, very personal, kind of intimate, kind of crazy graphic novel for a long time. And it's finally at the point where I can say next year it'll be done, which is really exciting. Cause I'm kind of eager to get into the whole promotion part of it, rather than the kind of just the pregame stuff. Cause I made a deal with myself that I wouldn't go to conventions till I finish, even as a fan, which is really hard, cause I have a lot of friends who do conventions, and I'm I want to go support them. But because I knew that would hurt to say no to, I set that as a goal, so that it would just be more incentive to finish this stupid thing. So I'm really excited about that. And then the weird thing is just seeing the subscribers grow when I started posting it on Tapas, prompted by a good friend of mine, Lonnie Millsap, who's now this year became a New Yorker cartoonist, which is kind of rad. But he was prompting me to do it, because he was you have the pages, just get it out there. And my other friend, Ken Mora, both of those guys really pushed me to do it. And now I'm starting to see readers and people showing up more. And so it's rambly, but it's been a really positive year and exciting. The more trying stuff this year is just kind of the same old. It's hard to do cartooning, and it's hard to do creative for a living. And so, of course, the wife and I are always really just barely scraping by, because in the LA area, you have to make a lot of money to be able to to keep a roof over your head. And it's a challenge every year, and it was no easier this year. But I do kind of envision a really strong year next year, because like I think I'll be done with the book. I'll be making all the materials and stuff to do a hardcore hit to the convention scene, which it's been a long time since I've been in. I've touched base with some people who I thought I had lost contact with, like some editors and stuff that I'm going to show it to, and just kind of see what comes of it. And so that's, I don't know, that's exciting, because it's like I took a couple of years off when my son was first born just to do the day job. And so this year's been one of the few years where I'm starting to feel like I'm hitting a stride of being able to do personal creative work, professional creative work, and kind of balance that with family. It's starting to kind of work. So I'm hoping the floor doesn't drop out next year, because like I said, I know, I know how creative is. I know enough people who work in the animation industry and stuff to know, like, you can have a sweet gig working for like Disney on your dream job and it's gone in a week, So I feel like this little niche I've carved out for myself could disappear. So I'm trying to kind of take it for what it's worth and at least get a book done that's the book I want to make when I don't have to worry about money, for just that part of it. And then we'll see where it goes. I know that's like a long-winded answer. I do want to say too, it's been cool to see, and this is going to sound cheesy and stuff, but it's been so rad to see like our chat growing, like on this show, and on 48-Hour Art Check. I feel like there's a community that's just continually building and showing up. And that's really cool too, because I actually really care about all of these people. And it's been cool, like this year, even meeting Vincent's been cool. Like I've made a new buddy from like this online thing we do every week. And that's been consistent. Like Corey is a buddy of mine too, and I met him through Scott. So it's like, I feel like this has been really cool for that too, as cheesy as that is. So that's kind of been my year roughly. I will say one promotional thing. On Friday, there's a reprint of an old shirt I did that T Fury is going to run, called Historical Superheroes, and it's got like all of the most important characters of history, like the Wright brothers and Thomas Edison, and all these different figures, but their superpowers are like flight for the Wright brothers, and and so on. So so check that out, and if you want, buy it, because it's like the worst day of the year to have something up for sale on a 24-hour site. Because usually,
what day is that, Josh?
It's I think the 21st.
Right,
so I think that's like this Saturday, which is like the absolute worst day to have something. Let me confirm that real quick. Yeah, it's the 21st. So that's one of the worst retail days. But it'll be fun to have it up, because it's something I did a long time ago for like Threadless used to have this select club where they would have subscribers that would just receive a t-shirt every month. It was called like the 12-month club or something. And I did it for that, and then it's been out of print since. So it'll be cool to see it back up in print. So it's a good opportunity if you saw that design and you wanted to buy it to get it. So yeah, and then Robert in the chats was asking if I'm going to print a huge black and white trade paperback. Not a huge one, but yes, it will be a trade paperback. But it's no tome. This is not going to be like Cerebrus. Like I wish I could only wish I could have the output of like Dave Sim or something. This is going to be like 110 pages, so it'll be a thin tome. But yeah, that was my year. Yeah. Sort of, roughly. Sorry, I feel like I took way too much time on that.
Oh, cool. I just wanted I mentioned something that I forgot that you kind of brought up, because you said you met Eric Idle and everything, and you can say the same thing after I mention what I did. But I went to my first design conference, which is cool, because we're talking about just meeting people, and it's so cool to meet all these cool people online, but it's also cool to meet new people in person. So I kind of made an effort to try to get out there a little more, and went to my first design conference. And I actually got to meet Aaron Draplin and did a workshop with him. That was really cool. And I met some cool people through that. And then I went to the first meeting of the AIGA Phoenix. that was kind of cool. So hopefully I'll have some more involvement with that. But yeah, it's kind of cool to start getting out there, and I almost hesitate to say networking because I guess that shouldn't have a negative connotation, but just getting out and meeting people and that kind of stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I think you need that. It's kind of like a hit. you need a little boost in this, because it's such a vulnerable thing making art. Not everybody's in a position at their jobs where they're like putting their soul into something and then putting it out for people to like light on fire, So like it is so nice to meet other people who are doing this same crazy thing we're all doing, because it's fascinating because you'll meet, like I met a Disney director this last year who were like the guy who directed Mulan, and the guy had like the same gripes about his day job when he was working at Disney. Like he had like the same struggles. And it's just one of those like weird things of like, it kind of doesn't matter where you're at on the creative rung. It's a very similar struggle for most people, I think, when they're making this stuff. And so it's just good to like touch base with other people in that battle, because it is a battle. Robert in the chats also had mentioned earlier that he's looking at Vincent's Instagram and that it looks great. So see, you guys, like one of the people in the chats is already digging Vincent's Instagram. So
how could you not? How could you not? If you check it out, I mean, Vincent's an amazing artist. Not to, like, he's sitting right here. It's kind of weird.
I'm kind of happy about is I've been the main artist for a band called Superstar, which is with Vinny Appice, who is the drummer of Black Sabbath. And he's also the drummer of Dio. And so my friend Mike, the one-man electrical band guy, Omed, he has this band with Vinny Appice, and I did the big banner for their the background of their concert. I did the passes for the crew.
That's awesome.
I did if you look on my Instagram, I did a few covers for their albums, for their records, or for their songs, depending. And so I'm really happy. I think the last thing I posted was the banner. And Vinny Appice, he's a drummer. He's a drummer from hell, right? So he's just drumming away. And he drummed so hard 2 nights ago that my banner fell. So they had to put it up again, a little bit like crooked, but it in a way it gave me more exposure to my art.
That's awesome.
This thing was 12 by 8. I had to do it in Illustrator because it was so heavy on Photoshop, it wouldn't go. My MacBook couldn't take it. So I did it I painted it by hand, all the characters by hand. You'll see on Instagram, and then I put I streamlined that in Illustrator, and it looked pretty good, and it was vectorized. So of course it was super, there was no pixel.
Yeah.
Even if you look close, so that was cool. And I also did T-shirts that I posted on my Facebook. I didn't put on my Instagram, where it was like a mix of Black Sabbath albums, and it turned out pretty cool. I did the color separation for that because there was a problem with the print. But it turned out pretty well. I mean, it was. So I've been doing a lot of rock and roll stuff.
That's awesome. I
even did a cover for called Rain Dancer with the drummer of Styx.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so it was like kind of cool, man. I mean, it's so I'm getting some good feedback from these hard rockers, and so that's kind of how I ended my year. So that was a lot of fun.
That's super rad. Robert in the chats also was asking if you have a Patreon, Scott.
Yeah, I think I answered him. Yeah, the thing is, what I'm doing right now is I'm sort of laying some of the groundwork for a Patreon, but I want to make sure I can stay on top of a newsletter, because right now the newsletter is kind of like my Patreon, because I'm going to have extra stuff and all this kind of stuff. So if I can keep that up, and I'm also doing exclusive videos for each one of the newsletters. So as I'm doing that, because there's not a lot of people, because I've got like I've got under 200 people on my newsletter right now because I just started it. But it's like I said, that's not bad for just starting it. But out of those 200 people, maybe I don't know, 30 people open it. Actually, it's a pretty good percentage. I think I'm around 40%. But anyway, so out of that 40% of people that open it, only so many people click on the video. So the videos only get like maybe 15 views or something like that. But I'm going to repurpose those videos. So when I do start a Patreon, I'll have all this backlog of these videos that a lot of people haven't seen, and they're still exclusive. So I'll be able to post those. So I'm going to have some of that stuff because I know, nice. I know I've just seen so many of my friends that run Patreon, and it's like hard to stay on top of it. So I kind of want to, it's almost like I want to sort of build a buffer before I jump into it because I want to learn from other people's mistakes before I make them myself. So anyway, but that's kind of what I'm going to do. So I do plan to do a Patreon in 2019, and we can get into that when we talk about next year. But I just want to kind of make sure that I can handle it.
Cool.
And it's kind of like the way I work is I like to start things and kind of get them rolling so that I don't want to say they're on autopilot because there's still a lot of work. But if I can create a habit out of something, and if I can get that going, like right now, YouTube is a habit. There's no way I'm not going to post like 2 videos a week, you know. So now that I've kind of got that underway, then I can kind of focus on something else. So now it's going to be my newsletter. If I can get that sort of where it becomes a habit, and I know I can put that out, then I can focus on like a Patreon. So yeah, I do want to do a Patreon, and like I know, you know, Kevin's in the chat, and him and Jeff were railing on me a while back about Patreon. I still don't have one, but I do want to get a Patreon going. I just want to do it the smart way, I guess.
Yeah.
So
hi to Kevin and Keeman in the chats. I have a similar thing with Patreon. It's like I know Kevin was harping on us both about it, and it's one of those things of like it is a smart idea. I haven't had the time to set one up and to come up with some incentives that kind of make sense for people that don't end up being an extra 20,000 things of work that I need to do.
Right.
But I do think it's a smart thing to dip into, and I feel like by the time I dip into it, it might go the way of like a lot of those platforms where it's like way too late in the game, and there's all these people just taking home their checks from Patreon, and I'm like having trouble getting people to pay 50 cents, you know? But who knows? So let's start talking about kind of our visions for 2019. Like, it's such a weird thing because I'm a huge critic of the idea of like New Year's resolutions.
I think there's a difference between goals and resolutions.
Yeah, and so that's what I kind of want to talk about. It's more like goals, but I want to clarify. I'm not talking like resolutions, you know, because I feel like resolutions just kind of either set you up for disappointment, just by the nature of them being like once a year and not really actionable. I don't know. So, but vision or goal, like where do you kind of see this next year going in, you know? Oh, Robert said he likes Vincent. He likes your John McCain art on there as well. Yeah, and he said he's not a Republican, but he kind of liked him.
Well, neither am I, and but I did have to. I felt I needed to do something, you know, because I didn't agree with everything he said, of course, but I did admire the man, as you know, as much as you can admire a man, you know.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I think we're all kind of there with you in the sense, like, yeah. Okay, so Vincent, where do you kind of see like 2019? You know, what's kind of your hopes for 2019? Like some of your plans. Sounds like you got some books lined up. So you know, yeah.
I do have some goals. Like you say, I'm not much of a New Year's resolution. Last year, I said I was going to learn to speak Spanish, hold a conversation at the end of the year, and that didn't happen.
How many languages do you speak, by the way?
Two where I speak and write. I still write in French for France. So 2 languages that I can like you hear my English, that's how my French is. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But yeah, I write in both languages. I was brought up. I was brought up bilingual, so I've always had the two languages. But I do want to learn Spanish, and I still want to learn Spanish. I think it's a great language, and because I live in Arizona, I think I should learn Spanish. I think it's the least of things. Got a lot of Mexican friends, and I like to be able to hold a conversation. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So forget resolutions. Yes, I have goals. So this is what I have in place. I have that thing in Denmark. Now, let me explain what that is. It's a new show online that they're doing in Denmark for the children, especially that has to do with self respect. How to get children who have problems with their parents and everything. At least everything is done with this wonderful girl that has two puppets, kind of like Jim Henson, but they're not really good looking puppets. So they were looking for a creator, and I'm on the job. So I'm the sole creator right now of this. I do the logos and everything, even the design. I'm working on that show, and it's kind of sweet because it's not that it pays so much up front, but I contractually I got 5% for 10 years of
Nice.
that comes out of it. So if it's a flop, it's a flop. But if it works, if it becomes a success, and I know that the people behind it are not amateurs, if it is a success, I'll have 5% on everything, merchandising, everything. So it might be a sweet year.
That'd be nice if that hit.
Yeah,
Awesome.
if it's a hit, it's a sweet year. But like you say, Josh, what you're saying is true. I mean, let's be honest. Our jobs can stop. I mean, I was too comfortable with SpongeBob to even think of doing something else really seriously. And then, this happens, and I'm out of a job. So it's and I've been doing SpongeBob for 20 years.
Wow, it's amazing to think it's
So,
even been around that long. But,
yeah, I was on it a year and a half before it was on TV.
Oh,
So when we talk about stability, this is not a job for stability. But anyway, it could be sweet at moments, and hopefully that Denmark thing. Then I have my own story, my own comic book / screenplay, maybe. It's about a kid that is cursed with this doll, this kind of idol, that gives him almost unlimited powers of hearing people's minds. He can kill by thought. I mean, he's got too much powers. And there's something that really, without telling the whole story, he sees bullies kicking this kid on the floor, and that because he's always in possession of that idol that he can't get rid of, he thinks bad thoughts about he finally kills the two kids. And that's where the story turns around, where he wants to get either rid of the doll, because every time he destroys it, burns it, or smashes it, he goes into his room or in the car, and the doll's beside him. So he can't get rid of the doll. It's called Muck, with an accent on the K. Muck means power in Old Greek. So I chose that name, and it's called The Adventures of Harrison because the kid's name is Harrison. It's going to be a great story. There's a villain a la Voldemort in there too, of another dimension. So it's going to be an exciting story. I've got the whole layout of the story already written down, and now I'm writing the story. And I did a cover, which I will post. I'm not very happy about the cover, so I'm going to draw it, and then when I post it, I'll post it, and then I might go Kickstarter with that.
Yeah,
I might go Kickstarter with that. We'll see. But I already have European editors interested. I kind of want to do it here, though. I have more following in Europe than I do here, but I don't know. I want to break the American, I want to make it happen too. So we'll see. It might just be a movie too. I don't know how it's going to end up being, but I'm definitely working on it. So that's the goal of this year, is to give myself time. I might take 2 years to do this. I don't know. Hopefully I'll do it this year, because the Denmark thing will be pretty big, to a lot of work. And then I have my second job, like I said, is taking care of children with difficulties, and that's a pleasure of my own. It has nothing to do with my art, of course. But And then I have the other thing I want to do. I want to. I don't know if you guys saw my Lemon Crush It thing, but I want to get that started too. I mean, I started it, and then I had so many things going on that I couldn't do it. And I really want to get that done too. It's just a silly thing, more like Monty Python-esque for comics. So we'll see. So I have a few things on the burner, but right now, this year, if I can attain 2 goals, and that is 1, to do the Denmark thing, and 2, to get into writing for cartoons. Hopefully
Nice.
SpongeBob, but I'm not expecting my friends to push that, because that's I don't want to abuse friendship either. So if that works, that works. It is a dream of mine to start writing for the series, because I think I have a voice that is more related to SpongeBob original series, and I think that might, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I suck, I don't know, but we'll see.
Well, no, I would say for anybody who's familiar with those comics and stuff, I mean, it's I don't think anybody would argue against that. And I also think like anybody is a fan of like animation or comedy, like that. You're right about like those first seasons, man. There's just some memorable stuff, like a lot of like visual gags that were just so like hilarious and brilliant. And
yeah, well, you can hold 11 minutes by SpongeBob playing with a piece of paper, or getting jealous, or SpongeBob showing how to blow bubbles. I mean, this is 11 minutes of just that.
Yeah,
and that's how great it was. Now it became a little bit plot heavy.
Yeah.
I might be even guilty of making it plot heavy. In fact, my editors sometimes told me that I was too plotty on my stories. So maybe I do have that. But my aim would be, so as far as goals go, my number 1 goal would be to get into animation. Number 2 goal would be that my work for Denmark works out in my favor, of course, which would be in the favor of everybody. Obviously, I'd be just it would have repercussions for me. And my 3rd thing would be where my story Mock is going to go with the kid.
Well, I hope that's a success too, because that's a abnormally large percentage of points for an artist involved, and so like that would be extremely profitable if it hits.
Well, if
that's good.
Goals ends at the end of the year being successful, I'll be happy.
Oh man, that's so awesome. Cool. What about you, Scott? What are kind of how are you kind of envisioning 2019? What are some of your goals? I also want to touch on some of the chat that's going on after, because there are a lot of people in the chats discussing their 2019 goals, and it'd be cool to share that as well, because I'm fascinated by that stuff. So all right. So Scott, what are you thinking?
So I touched on a few things. One of them is, I did finish issue 4 of Young and the Dead. So I'm gonna wait to launch a Kickstarter probably in March, probably early March. So it might be, it might start March 1st. I got one thing I want to do, as far as, because I'm good at like creating lists and using, like, I use Trello and everything, but I've heard a lot of successful people saying, don't use lists, make calendars. Now, and the things they say about it, they say a lot of people, if they create to-do lists, most of the stuff doesn't get done. But I don't know, for whatever reason, I think I'm a little more successful with my to-do list. Most of the stuff that I set out to do does get done. So for me, I still like to-do lists, but I do want to try to, I've never really went that far in advance as far as, setting up a calendar and everything. So I'm going to try to do that. And in doing so, I'm going to try to set up to get a Kickstarter ready for March, because January and February aren't really the best times of a year to launch a new product or something, just because everyone's coming off of Christmas and everything like that. So,
well, Scott, there's also a huge marketing advantage to that, since you're doing a zombie book, because it could be March of the Dead, like you could play that up. So
I think I'm kind of at the point where I don't know now that, like, now that Walking Dead is kind of like losing viewers, I don't know that I don't know that zombies are like a thing anymore, but I still like my story and everything, and it's taken me. I mean, I've kind of went through, I started writing this thing a long time ago, and it wasn't because I was a huge zombie fan, although I did like the original Night of the Living Dead, and then when Walking Dead kind of became popular, I was watching that for a while. But I'm not the biggest zombie fan. I just like, I mean, I do like to draw zombies, but
yeah, they are fun to draw.
Mine has a kind of a different take, and whether there's a big following around zombies or not, it doesn't matter to me, because to me the story is more about kids and it's more an adventure story and everything. So whether I can piggyback on some other's success, I don't know if that's the case or not. But anyway, yeah. So I'm looking to do a Kickstarter in March. I really want to focus. I want to double down on my digital products. So I found some success in some of my digital products, especially like I said, the success of the Comic Maker Starter Kit, which granted it's free, so that's an easy sell because you're not selling anything, you're just giving away. But people really like that, and I think so. Like I mentioned, I do want to create like a pro starter kit or a pro comics kit that's going to be even bigger than if you've seen the Comic Maker Starter Kit, it's already pretty robust. I mean, there's tons of stuff in it. I mean, it's a pretty big file to download, and there's tons of stuff in it because there's all different formats too, where there's Photoshop and Illustrator and all that kind of stuff. So I do want to create another one that I'm going to sell, and then I want to do more comic book stuff. I want to do more comic book fonts and all that kind of stuff. So that's something that I want to concentrate on, is more digital products. I want to, because I have a lot of like prints and physical things for sale, I'm probably not going to concentrate as much on that, but I do want, one thing, and I mentioned this before, is I kind of want to play around with my print style, and I want to do something a little more, I don't know, I want to put a little more into it, because when I was beginning to build my kind of library of prints and things, I knew that I couldn't spend the time to focus on a particular print because I didn't know if it was going to sell or not, and it was kind of hard to invest that amount of time in something and not knowing if it's going to work or not. So I kind of picked a simpler style for a lot of my prints, but I want to kind of go a little more detailed, a little more illustrative style on some prints. So I've got an idea for a triptych. So 3 different prints, and it's going to be, one's going to be robots, one's going to be aliens, one's going to be zombies, because that's sort of my tagline. But I really want to make these really amazing, like something hopefully that's comparable to what you would see from like, I kind of hesitate to say this, but like, some like the stuff you see like Mondo, like the Ollie Moss stuff, or like DKNG, or like Tom Whalen, or stuff in that kind of that, where it's, hopefully people look at this and go, like, kind of get that wow factor. So we'll see. I'm going to attempt to do something like that. So that's something I want to do, but I don't want to focus a lot on a bunch of prints. I want to do more digital, but I do want to create like a series of maybe 3 new really cool prints. So there's that. That I'm going to be doing. I wrapped up my book, and we're going to be doing the 100 Days of Making Comics anthology number 2, which they're all 4-page stories. So I've got last for the anthology 1, I just did a pinup. But for this one, I'm doing a 4-page story. I'm going to try to do it digitally this time to practice my digital skills. Most of it, I might still ink traditionally, but I'm going to try to draw it digitally and kind of hopefully learn Clip Studio in the process. We'll see, and I'll be covering that in some of my videos. And then I'm also doing the cover art for the new anthology too, so that's kind of cool. I got to think of an idea, because I'm not like a huge fan of the theme. I mean, the theme is like the werewolves, and it's werewolves and unicorns, but it's also other mythical creatures. So I'm trying to come up with an idea for something for the cover for that. Yeah,
it should just be, the cover should just be you like reading the werewolves and unicorns subject and being like, why?
No.
And that'll be it.
I mean, I do want to feature werewolves and unicorns on the cover, and then maybe and other, some other stuff too. But I just haven't figured out what I want to do yet, because it's going to be hard to top Kevin's cover for the first one. So.
Yeah, that was a pretty cover.
Yeah. So I don't know if I should go something totally different, or if I should keep with theme. Because I always think of like when I was a kid and I was collecting albums, or when I was just into album art. You look at something like Iron Maiden, where it always kind of followed a theme, and it's like, oh, that's cool, because you see that progression. But then sometimes you like the things that are totally different, because in a way it's like, oh, that artist is evolving, so maybe this is a totally different kind of an album because it has totally different album art. So that's something that I'm kind of in my brain wondering if I should do something similar to what Kevin did. Or
what's interesting is the choice you make on that will dictate more than anything how the third one comes out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
True,
so this is actually a pretty weighty decision, because if you go that route, then it'll almost be like the third has to be a series,
Right.
Whereas if you go totally different, then the third has to be totally different. It's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. So I haven't given. I'm giving more thought to the story right now, not the cover art, because I think I can do that at the last minute. So Kevin says for me to do me, which I think that's the route I'm going to go. I think I'm going to do something a little different, but it's probably going to be. I'm guessing it's going to be sort of an homage to like some pulpy, monster stories, I guess. But a lot of people have done, like, I just got the artwork that Marshall. I bought some artwork that Marshall did for his Attack of the Lizard Brain, where he kind of went with that. And you see that homaged all the time, where it's got kind of the main picture and then the three little bubbles, and it's kind of from the old, I think it was EC Comics or some little horror stuff. I'd like to do that, but I'm worried that too many people have done that. So I don't know. I may still do that, or I may still. Originally, one of the concepts, I think Marshall threw that out, was he said Tales of the Cryptid. Is it cryptid? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing that we're doing, but I think it's a little heavier on the werewolves and unicorns. But I like that so much, and I could just totally see like a Tales of the Crypt style thing. Yeah. So I don't know. I'll have to give it some thought. But
yeah, I would look at those because even for that Monty Python poster and stuff, I looked at old Two-Fisted Tales covers too, and those have like similar things.
Oh yeah,
those are really inspiring for that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's cool. Man, I want to jump in because I'm like, that's part of the, obviously that anthology is part of my plans.
I got a couple other things.
Go ahead.
So I there may be something that we're going to do with Corey. I think you know about this. We're going to talk about that soon. So I got to see what's all involved with that. There's some other cool stuff I want to do for the YouTube channel, but it's going to be a lot of this calendar things, figuring out how I'm going to fit all this stuff in. But one thing I really need to do is I really need to focus more on Instagram too, because I just kind of I like with Inktober, I was posting every day, and then I haven't posted since. So I'm in the process of building sort of a temporary backdrop that I can throw up here, because this is where all my computer stuff is. So I want to do some broadcasting from this, but I want it to mirror what it looks like in the underground lair. And that set, if anyone's not familiar, that set is just in a little walk-in closet in my downstairs. And there's an art desk there, but I don't really use it. And there's no computer or anything. It's just it's a little walk-in closet. So I want to try to expand that so I can do some videos up here. And if I can do that, then I think I can do more like Instagram stories, where it's like, more kind of live from the underground lair, but a different part of the underground lair and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm in the process of kind of building that set. It's like a backdrop that I can throw it back here and some other stuff. So, if I can do that, then maybe I can do some more Instagram stories and post some more stuff on Instagram. But yeah, I really need to focus a little more on Instagram. But yeah, is there anything else? Again, continue with the newsletter and all that. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm planning for 2019. And I still haven't I've wrote a lot of the stuff down here, but I've kind of got to go over it and kind of figure out what's what, and there might be some more stuff added to that. But so that's where I'm right now.
That's rad. And actually, it's funny because I feel like the one thing you kind of glossed over for this last year, your channel's grown a lot in this last year. Like I feel like it really picked up this year, and you gained a lot of subscribers, which has been a cool thing. And so I would say, like, at least for me as your friend, I can only see that growing in the next year. You know, like.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah. I mean, I think, I had some video, like my art hack videos I had one that kind of started picking up and got me a lot of subscribers. And the second one didn't do as big as the first one, but it did all right. And then I did like sort of a third one that was the Inktober one that got a decent amount of views. But so those ones seem to do all right. But I just don't have enough art hacks to just do, not that I'd want to do just art hack videos, but I just don't. I don't have that many ideas. Yeah. So, and one of them I took from Vincent when he showed me how to break those microns. That's awesome. So, yeah.
I just ordered some on Amazon. I ordered a bunch of Sharpies because I love working with the Sharpies. You just need a good paper that's not porous. But it's amazing what you can do with those Sharpies too. Yeah,
you're gonna have to. I next time I see you in person, I want to actually bring some Sharpies and a razor blade, and I want you to show me how you do it, because I think I knew what you're talking about, and I did it, but I think I need to actually see it in person to see how.
And you have to be ready. You know, Sharpies are like 50 cents a piece. Yeah, like that. You have to be ready to ruin 2, get 1 good. You know.
Yeah, and if anyone's not familiar with what we're talking about, Vincent has this thing where he takes Sharpies and he takes a razor and he cuts them in such a way, and you can do this with microns too, but microns are a little pricier. But he can take a Sharpie and he can make it look like a brush with the pressure and everything. It's just amazing.
It's the same method with the micron. It's just you cut it a certain way 2 times, and then you smush it to make it totally flexible and kind of dirty, so your inking is not perfectly. And if you don't smush it, you can use it for the lines that you don't want to be paintbrush like. But it's pretty good. I haven't spent a lot of money on paintbrushes this past time.
That's awesome.
I did half of that album that I did for Denmark, and you can't see the difference. Half of it was all paintbrush, and the other half was just micron and Sharpie.
That's awesome. It's cool. I'm looking forward to that hack.
Yeah.
Cool.
I might do a video for it, but I don't have it. Yeah. I might do a video and ask one of you guys to post.
Well, we could do maybe we could do a guest video, like just have you post it.
Find a way to film it so it's clear, because it's not something that it's not I don't consider that a secret. There's things I know about Photoshop that I use that I don't really advertise because my little secrets, It's like cooking. You don't always want to give all the recipes away.
Right.
Yeah.
I am willing to give a lot away, and that you do. I mean, you give a lot away. But I think that's a nice hack that any artist would appreciate.
Yeah, it's such a cool hack. Yeah. But yeah, you were talking about growing the channel. So I mean, it's weird because now it's starting to go down a little bit. And I don't know why that is. I know YouTube did a thing where they purged a bunch of they took out a bunch of subscribers that were just either bots or people that weren't really active, which is fine because I don't care if they remove those people because they're not either real people or they're not really active. So it's a better indication of who your real followers are. So I didn't mind that, but it did you see this big dip. And so the followers you get every month, it went down quite a bit, but I don't know. It's just because they removed some of those. So I don't know if it eventually will catch back up. We'll see.
Well, or hopefully it's just an across the board lowering that once it kind of evens out, you've still got pretty much the same percentage.
Yeah, I didn't really notice a big difference when they did that.
Yeah,
but it just right now the way the stats look, it looks like it dropped quite a bit. But I think that's just because of that.
Yeah, if you have the same amount of comments, for example,
you
know that the ones that are got rid of are the bots.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. So, okay. So growing the channel. So anything else?
well, yeah. So I mean, at the rate I'm going, I think in hopefully a couple months or so, I'll hit 10,000, which is kind of cool. Yeah. And I'll do something for that. I never really did any kind of celebration for any other kind of milestone I hit or whatever. Like even when I first hit 1,000, I didn't really do anything. I don't think I did anything, but I don't know. 10,000 seems to be kind of, at least for smaller YouTubers or whatever you want to say, people on YouTube.
It's a good number.
10,000 is kind of a good number because, from what I understand, once you hit 10,000, you have all the perks that even people with 1 million subscribers have. Now, I mean, as far as not really, but because I mean, obviously there's a difference. But like if I wanted to, I think at 10,000 I can go. If I wanted to go to like one of the YouTube Spaces and use their equipment, I can. I think I'm eligible for that, and I think they opened the what was that called? The YouTube. There's like a community section. I think that eventually, I mean, at first you had to be at 10,000 to get that, but I think they opened up that to most people. But still, it's kind of a cool milestone. So
yeah, that's huge.
So yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, so I just want to continue to kind of grow that and see where it goes from there.
Nice. So in the chat, somebody, I think it was Keeman, proposed the question of just what everybody's goals were. Kevin said his is going to be all about reinvention. Robert said to keep learning. Let's see. Oh, and he said he's going to do the 100 days starting January 1st. Good for you, Robert. We're all veterans of the 100 days and love it.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot. I think that community is really going to start to pick up and start building again because of the anthology. Because everyone that's doing that anthology, a lot of those people are going to start posting videos. So you're going to see a lot of activity within that community. Again, I mean, it's kind of has its surge. I mean, Kevin will tell you that, but it's kind of had it's never really went away, which is kind of cool. But there are times where it kind of spikes, and it's usually around that first of the year. And especially when we do the anthologies, there's just a big surge in people that are participating in that community. So that'll be a good thing for you too, Robert, as long as you're posting videos and stuff. So.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a good way to just like I said, anything you can kind of do to just kind of hold yourself to like those goals. Cause like Vincent actually, we're going to have to either touch this today or some other time cause you're writing this script and like, it sounds like such a cool story and you're possibly kickstarting it. But I'm curious what you use to kind of keep going when it's like that's more of a long vision. And like it's interesting because like most people I know, like we have to come up with like weird tricks to kind of keep ourselves going on those things. Keeman said for 2019 the top goal is to get out of the artist block and finally release the first issue of her comic. That's a good goal, Keeman. You shouldn't let artist block ever be an excuse because start making and you'll never have artist block. And actually, we've seen your work. Like, Keeman's actually a really good cartoonist. So, like, that's silly. Get it done. Let's see. So, I think that pretty much covers everybody in the chats. And then Keeman was talking about doing a 3rd season of 100 Days of Making Comics. So that sounds cool. So I don't want to be cutting anybody off. So did everybody get their 2019s in?
Everyone but you, I think.
Okay. So mine's pretty simple. I mean, I need to finish this book. I've been working on it for a couple of years now, quite a few years, and like I'm putting a lot into it, and I'm happy with the results. But I am really looking forward to that last page being done, so I can like start working on the book design and shopping it around and pitching it around and doing all of that fun stuff. So that's goal number 1. The other thing I'd like to do, like once this book is done, I would like to rebrand my website, get some more current work up, curate it a little better because there's way too much up there. And it's an older WordPress site, and it's like I might even switch over off of WordPress because there is that problem with every once in a while it gets hacked or something like that. and it's kind of expensive to keep up. So I'm thinking about possibly making that switch to Squarespace. That would be, most of this stuff would be at the later end of the year. A thing I started this last year was working out daily. And I've never been a guy who did that. And I started implementing that this year and building a habit and being really pretty consistent with it, and have kind of felt the results where I have more energy and I'm able to kind of work double time on my art and not have it completely kill me. So I want to keep going with that, because the year before I would get all this back pain, because like at my job, I'm like at a computer drawing all day, designing all day, and then I'd get home and I'd work on my own comic and be drawing all day, arched over a table because I have terrible posture and stuff. So like starting to work out and stuff was a huge thing. So I want to do that consistently all next year, because it's and I just started introducing like a little bit of lifting to it. And so I want to start actually keeping that consistent, because it's like, I think I'm getting this sense that the age I'm at, it's like that is only like all of the stuff that happens when I don't do that is only going to get gradually worse and worse and worse. So, and Robert was saying I should film it. So maybe, I don't know. The problem is I'm not like a workout guy. So like, that's the thing. I mean, do you want to see like a scrawny guy like lifting really low amounts of weight and being like, yeah, I did it, and doing little like power punches in the air for like doing nothing incredible compared to people who do it all the time? But I mean, I could try. I think Robert was saying, hell yeah, he wants to see it. Okay. Maybe I can do that. I do want to also really get more into like highly produced videos and stuff once this comic's done, because I'm going to be doing conventions, promoting it, trying to get on any show that'll have me, to just give it the best shot at succeeding that I can give it. And so in that case, like I have all these tools that I've kind of built. Like now that I'm friends with Corey, he kind of convinced me to get into doing After Effects, and it's easy and accessible and cool, and you can make animations that look so professional. And so I want to start implementing more of that in my own branding. Like I'm doing that in my day job for the company I work for, and I'm not doing it for myself. And I feel like I want to make my own stuff look as slick as I can. And so like I want to start using more of that and implementing more of that, because it's really fun. So that's a huge goal. So basically like, and then also starting to use my Instagram like I should be, because right now I'm mainly using Instagram as another little cheat to just keep myself doing work when I get home. That's not like for a paycheck, because it's like all I do is I've made a pact that I'm going to post at least a panel a day, whether that's like a panel of rough pencil or whatever. I'm always going to post a panel a day, so I'm making progress on my comic. And that has a downside because it looks really redundant, and then you're seeing like drawings in their most like chaotic, crappy stage. So it doesn't like necessarily like if I were randomly perusing Instagram, I may not be like, oh, I want to follow this guy, because it's like it's a little much. Whereas like you want to see like curated, like pretty pictures and stuff. So so like that might be something I'd like to do, is just kind of like actually put up the work I've done for the last like 15 years on Instagram, like the big stuff, the finished stuff, the stuff that went viral online. Like that's the stuff I should be showing. But at the same time, I don't want it, like everything has to stay in service of this comic, because that's kind of my main target. And then like I would like to give it a shot to join the National Cartoonist Society, because I've had a lot of fun with the NCSLA. And then there's some possible things with Corey that Scott mentioned. Short term for next year, by January 1st, I have to come up with what I'm going to do for that anthology. And I know it's not going to be unicorns or werewolves, but it's probably going to be something mythological because I do like myth a lot, and I kind of want to do something that's heady and kind of mythological, but I'm also toying with like how I could maybe twist it to be a little more autobiographical since this is the type of stuff I like to do. So I don't know. I'm still toying with that, and I think till I have a good solid few weeks of Christmas break, I'm not going to really have time for that. And then just continuing to kind of make art and be productive. So those are kind of my main goals. It's not a ton. I'm trying to think if there was any other kind of crazy ones, but I think that's basically it. It's pretty basic. Oh, and like hopefully continue to like do well where I'm at, like for my day job and like pull in new clients and stuff like that. But that's like, not all that interesting.
Did you? I was kind of looking at the phone real quick. Did you mention the 100s project?
What's up? Yeah, that's what I was just mentioning. Okay. So like my short-term goal for that is just to come up with what I'm going to do, because I don't think 4 pages is going to be that hard in that amount of time. Like pages take a while, but not that long for me. So the main thing is like I just have to, what Vincent was describing with like the script and stuff.
Right.
I had to work out first my arc and then my script. And for me, I have a harder time writing short stuff than I do long stuff. And I have a lot of friends who are New Yorker guys, and they do those one panel strips. And to me, like that's one of the most intimidating forms of cartooning on the planet, because I'm used to having space. Like even if I do a humor strip, it's always got like a page where I can play and stuff like that. Just to boil that all down.
Originally, we had six pages for this anthology, and then they brought in more people, so they condensed it down to 4. And while it's like, okay, that's less work, but I had it all planned out. It was like, oh, this is perfect for 6 pages, so now I got to figure out how to do it 4.
Oh man, and I don't know if you heard Corey's, but it's like this insane, like epic myth. I think what he should do is like a little snapshot of that world.
Yeah.
For 4 pages, but who knows? But like, yeah, I don't know yet what I'm going to do. So I'm like, Friday is my last day for like 2 weeks at my job. And so I'm going to spend a lot of my free time just kind of noodling that story.
That's cool.
The only thing that kind of bums me out about doing 4 pages, and this is my own little neurotic thing, is I'm so targeted on getting this book done that like doing a side pages thing feels like, but those could be pages for this book. So anyhow, that's pretty much it. I do want to know, like I wanted to kind of pin it in my brain earlier, but it's like I did want to hear from Vincent, like, so when you're working on this script, and not the SpongeBob one, but your own personal one, how do you, like, what do you do to kind of do that? Like, do you do that because you have to? Do you like
sometimes I mean, it's not always organic. I mean, usually when I feel like writing, I just go behind my computer and I write. I'm fine, it just flows. But there are days where I say to myself, I should be writing, but I don't feel like it. So I go behind my computer and I just write nonsense. It has nothing to do with my script. It was Dick Brown who did Hagar the Horrible, He said something very interesting that I might have even said it on the other show, because it's one of my mantras now. He says, there's no such thing as a blank page. You write your grocery list. You write anything you want, and you'll end up jumping on your horse. But you cannot just look at a blank page and say, I'm stuck. You can write. You just write anything. Write to your grandma, write to your, to Napoleon. What would you say to Napoleon? And before you know it, you're like, oh, wait, and then you're going to your.
And I think it's the same with drawing. I mean, it's whether you're just doodling or scribbling or just. I
always start my day when I draw. I always start my day doodling. In fact, sometimes I doodle so much that I forget that I have to work. But but it's. I also doodle with words. I love words. So. Yeah. I love conversing online with, I like doing philosophy and stuff like that. I'm an armchair philosopher, of course. I'm not the best, but I enjoy words. I like to converse with. If somebody's going to use big words, I'll use big words. That's not a problem. I love language for that. But when it comes to writing, sometimes you just close your eyes and you. I always reread what I wrote before, which is a big loss of time often, but it helps me go back on the saddle too. I'll read and then you'll read, and then all of a sudden you see the rest, and it comes. There's no real trick, really.
Yeah.
Just never look at the blank page as a blank page. You always start writing nonsense, whatever you want.
Yeah. Write
a letter to Daffy Duck, whatever you want. Just something that'll unlock your creativity, because that's all it is,
So that's actually really good, especially Keyman. Did you hear that? Like the blank page, like that's the way you get around it. So, but it sounds like you got some plans. She was saying she's planning on doing a mini comic that's outside of what she's currently doing, and doing a short children's comic about how to stop bullying. So, hey, there you go. That's a good start right there, and that's a good theme, right? Like, wouldn't that be great if we could stop that nonsense? Although then again, would that stop all people from being artists? So like something I'm curious about is like for your own personal projects though, like how do you kind of keep momentum going on those when you're like taking the gig for like the band that you have to do?
I do that. Well, I used to be I remember when I worked in the 90s when I was working with DC, there were days where I did Batman in the morning and Flintstones in the afternoon. So I can tell you learn very quickly to be a chameleon and to just keep the line moving, and you kind of have to be a chameleon, kind of.
Yeah.
But I do believe after 40 years of writing and drawing, I do believe that the blank page is us being our own enemy.
Yeah.
If you're a writer, you're a writer, and you don't have to be a published writer to be a writer, by the way. You can be an amateur writer. It doesn't matter. You can be a writer. Today I think there's so many writers out there because obviously there's a lot of chat going in chat rooms and PMs and then people just they write. Twitter and all that. Twitter was a great. It still is, even though they doubled the wording. It's still very, very good exercise to keep your words to a minimum to explain something that's larger, right?
Yeah.
And I don't cheat. I don't use short forms. I don't use online lingo. I use words that you read in books. And I have to find a way to make that fit, And
use ampersands?
No?
Use ampersands?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Do you use ampersands?
What's ampersand?
It's the symbol for and.
No. If I really have to, I'll use that if I really have like 2 letters missing. It's funny though, you get to a point where you finish your phrase and you're 1 letter or 0. Like you're just, and then you put you take the comma off and you just put not an underscore, but what do you call it? Like a line, and that'll take care of the comma.
It's funny that you're mentioning that exercise because one of my just personal goals that doesn't relate to art for this year, especially in management, is like being more succinct because I'm a very long-winded person, and I like you love language a lot, and I'm definitely like an armchair philosopher for sure. Not an actual philosopher because I think they bury me in the dirt. Like I've had maybe 2 times in my life where I've talked to like an Oxford scholar and been like, "Oh, I'm an idiot." Like when I'm talking to them,
Well, I wouldn't cut you short. I wouldn't. I talk with Oxford philosophers.
Yeah,
some that are really high up there, and we have exchanged conversations where I do make points.
Well, I've made points and I've held up, but they've gotten into like territories, especially like if you talk to like a quantum physicist, like for me, anytime I've done that, I'm like my brain like it's tiny and like I don't even comprehend the boiled down version of what they're talking about.
Even logic in its algebra form.
Yeah,
I get it, but it makes me fume, you know.
Yeah, totally. It just feels like there's moments where it feels like somebody just flipped my brain and it's just sizzling.
But there's nothing wrong with telling a philosopher, look, talk in English, tell me this in English. And when they do, and if they can't, then they're full of shit.
That's a good point.
Yeah, then you can learn something.
Yeah, but because of that, like I love language, so I use a lot of language and a lot of unnecessary language. Even in my writing, that's always a challenge. I always have to re-edit, and a lot of it's just taking things out.
You should go to Twitter. Twitter is really helpful. Trust me.
Yeah, and I should actually kind of engage in Twitter more, because I thought about just hearing you describe that. I was like, that would actually help me with that.
And on Twitter, it's the only place where I don't talk about my job so much. I usually talk politics and religion and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So it's really amazing how you all of a sudden you realize that your syntax is just too heavy, and you can make it a lot simpler, you know.
Yeah.
And it's and you're obligated to do that, you know, unless you do 3 dots and you do a second tweet. But I try to avoid that. But it's amazing how after a while, because I've been doing Twitter for a few years. After a while, you fall on your zero on your wording, like almost to a T. And it's funny, you know?
That's amazing. That's cool. I should start engaging more in Twitter just as an exercise to be more succinct. Yeah, because that's literally what frightens me about short stories.
Yeah, just be warned that if you look at my tweets, they're pretty aggressive. Not really, but I don't hide what I think.
Well, I read your tweet. I mean, I am on Twitter. I read your tweets and stuff. They're not bad. You're a fair guy.
Not nasty, but actually, I have the best discussions with people who are opposite of me in their thinking, and because I truly want to understand others. And I think that's what an artist does, though. An artist takes from real life, from other people's, especially when you create characters. How can you create character if you don't know what the villain is, what the villain thinks? Because the villain in you take for example, the last Avenger movie, right? With what's his name? Thanos. When you look at Thanos, he's a villain, but if you really look at his story, he makes sense to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so you can understand somebody without agreeing with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. There's that documentary on Netflix, and I'm blanking out on what it's called, but it's like about the Bhagwan Rajneesh.
Oh yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I watched it.
And it is so like disturbing, and yet the thing that I found most compelling and disturbing about it is they don't seem that crazy. And I mean, this is a group that like was talking about possibly getting armed, taking over an entire like city, like poisoning people. Like it was kind of like one of the more extremes. But the documentary does such a good job at being empathetic when presenting these people, that when they're explaining the rationality behind poisoning an entire city, they're just like, you're like, oh, well, I guess that, and then but that is crazy, but they don't sound crazy. Like that's, to me, that's the most compelling villain, you know?
That's why if you I discuss with a lot of people that think like me, that don't think like me, and I'm not really interested in talking with people who think like me, to be honest with you, because I know what I think, right? So it's like, okay, I rather learn from others, and it helps in my art, since we're talking about art. It helps me create characters. It helps me, you know. I realize that I specifically like characters that are like Squidward, you know, in SpongeBob, or like what's her name, April in Parks and Recreation. Very sarcastic and very pretty, but very like deadpan humor. Or lately in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is a show I will say everybody has to watch if you like musicals and silly comedy. And there's a girl in there that's called the neighbor, and she's like Squidward, like sarcastic and stuff. I like those characters, so I will always add a Squidward in my stories. Oh,
Squidward is the best character in SpongeBob. I mean, he's to me. You've had to write him, but it's like, to me, that would be the most fun character to write.
Oh, I love writing for Squidward. In fact, I did a few stories in the comic books where it was Squidward oriented, because I think those deadpan, sarcastic, almost fatalist characters are wonderful. They're just wonderful for me, you know. But it's not me; it's the contrary of me. But it's because they're contrary of me that I like it, you know.
Yeah, and I would also just chime in there, because I agree with you about, like, I like to talk to people I disagree with, because I also am of the opinion, like, the more the more I get into, like, there was a point when I was a new illustrator where I really thought I had illustration figured out.
Right.
And that point is long gone. Because I kind of, like, I still get work, but I have no idea, like, how this thing works or this industry works, or, like, if my art's any good. Like, I don't anymore. I feel like I've leveled up. I'm better than I was. But it's like, the older I get, the more I'm like, I feel like I actually can get a lot of value from other people. And frankly, I get really bored with how I think.
Yeah, well, same here. I mean, I'll give you an example with the Denmark.
Yeah.
Job I'm doing, right? So I create these two characters according to what they give me as information, and they fall in love with my drawings, right? And I hope they're not watching this because I have no idea why they think it's good. I wasn't sure it was good. I was like, oh yeah, you know, like I did all I could to make it work for you guys, you know. But the truth is, I didn't. You know, I've been doing this job for 40 years, and I still don't know what the heck I'm doing.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, I would like to meet somebody who does, who's been at it for 40 years.
No, the only people I've met who does are the beginners that think they figure out.
Yeah,
that's the only people I know that really think they're so confident. And you look at them. How long have you been drawing? Oh, for 2 whole years. You know? Yeah, well, dude, you know, grow up. You'll see. You know, because it's like life in general. It's like knowledge in general. That's why I love the Socrates phrase that says, "All I know is I know nothing." You know? Because the truth is, the more you know, the more question it raises from what you know, and so the more you start knowing things, the deeper the abyss of your ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true for art. It's true for cooking. It's true for you know. I'm doing this stand-up comedy right now. I'm writing my stand-up comedy. I've got already it all set up for here. I'll tell you, by the way, since you're in Arizona.
I want to know where you're performing.
Yeah, in Westgate, upstairs across from the Japanese restaurant. It's called.
Okay.
It's called.
Is that the dueling piano bar that they've got up there?
No, it's a nice little comedy club, and it's called. It's oh gosh, I'll double mine. Such an easy name to remember too. But anyways, I'm writing my stand-up right now, and it's going to be more character-driven. It's going to be more cartoony, but I might bomb, but I don't care. I'll do it. You know.
That's beautiful.
See, that was one of my things for 2019, by the way, is coming back to stand-up. I used to do stand-up in France, you know, like more. But yeah, it's the same thing for stand-up. You know, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. You know, you have people who do like look at the Napoleon Dynamite movie. They do a little short movie at school. It makes everybody laugh. They do a whole movie. MTV produces it. It's like, in my opinion, it's a masterpiece. But they'll never redo that. You don't. It'll never come back together like that. Never.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. I think it's. I think we mentioned this on the last one, but I think it's interesting because, like, I'm so fascinated by stand-up and by comedy, and I probably listen to more comedy-related like podcasts than like art-related.
Yeah.
Because when they talk shop, when comedians talk shop about comedy, it always reminds me of cartooning. It's like it's so in tandem with it, like the way it's worked out. But it's more community-based, like it's more communal in the sense of like you really don't know on the page,
right,
if it's funny until you're actually up there, and then it either gets a laugh or it might be funny on paper and just not deliver.
I've done it before, and I'll tell you one thing for sure: I'm a ham. So being a cartoonist is so lonely. I can't wait to have an applause. I love to go on stage. I have acted here and there. I love a stage more than movies because movies is boring to do.
Yeah.
But I hate waiting at movies, your turn to play and stuff. No, but on a stage, it's directly like. And what's great with stand up is that you're doing, but you have to have some leeway to do some ad lib, because some of the jokes you wrote down that made you laugh so much and your friends laughed.
Yeah.
That night, nobody laughed. You hear crickets. So if you don't have some ad libbing quality to your, and if you ad lib and it still doesn't work, but if you ad lib a phrase that you or somebody heckled and you answered and that got a big response, you're going to use that in your show.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The show is always better than the first one.
I'm excited, man. I think that's cool that you're going to dip into that. And that's actually, that brings to mind the fact that that's another thing from this year that's art related, but not like drawing related.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a demo with a band that started this last year. And so like, that's pretty exciting too. And I've played quite a few shows this year, and
it's art.
Just playing rock and roll at like bars and getting free beer is so fun.
It is. You know what?
Fun now.
I went to Denmark. In the French artists, usually they always have a band,
Yeah.
And for the magazine I worked with, it's called the Spirou Band, which was a magazine I worked with. I go over there in Denmark, and they say, "You want to play a little bit or sing?" I'll say, "Well, I'll do a solo." So guy lends me his guitar. I do a solo. It was on the Night Muse there in Denmark.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was like, dude. So it's like, yeah, it's part of it. There's such a link between cartooning, movies, music, sculpture, and comedy and stuff. It's all linked, really.
Yeah, and I think it's so that's a goal next year too, is to play some more shows, and like I said, I'm having more fun with it than I did when I was younger, and was like had ambitions of being a rock star or something. It's a lot more fun now, where I'm like, I just want to have like a really good night and get some free drinks. Like that's pretty much my goal.
No, but it's fun, it's fun. I have to say that's the fun.
Oh, but what's fascinating, so that's another thing. If you guys are new to kind of seeing Vincent, he's a really good guitarist and singer, and has tracked a lot of great stuff too. So yeah, multi-talent.
I'm an amateur.
Oh well, I don't know. So 2019 sounds like it's going to be a good year. I think I'm hoping that we all have a strong year.
About my goals is February 13th. I turned 60.
Wow,
that's awesome.
I hope I make it to there at least.
February 16th, you said? Mine's the 19th. February.
Yeah, February. Yeah, I mean it's the 13th.
Yeah,
I was born on Friday 13th.
Wow.
1959. Look at it. It's Friday 13th. So. Ooh,
spooky. That's awesome.
That makes sense.
So what is the sign of February or whatever? I don't really know.
It depends.
Pisces are Aquarius.
Yeah, I'm Aquarius. Yeah.
Wow. So you guys can sing that
Age of
about
Aquarius,
the dawning of the age of Aquarius.
I don't believe in I'm not into the whole astrology thing, but yeah, I'm right on the cusp, I guess. So sometimes I'm Aquarius, sometimes I'm Pisces, depending on what chart you're looking at, I guess.
I've always been Aquarius for as much as I know. I don't know much about astrology. I don't really know much about astrology, but I do know that I'm Aquarius.
Nice. And I can definitely guarantee in 2019, Vincent, I will be bugging you about European publishers. Yeah, I don't know anything about them, and I probably will want to be doing some submissions.
I just found out a new one that's starting to really skyrocket. So,
okay, if they do like sappy, like sincere autobio stuff, then
I know at least two editors that like the autobiography stuff.
Sweet.
I mean, I like reading that myself. So.
Sweet. Yeah, I don't know why. Like, it's funny. As an illustrator, I had like a lot of luck with like Australia and France. Mm-hmm. And so like the only times in my life where I've been like interviewed in a magazine and had my name like printed in it and stuff, it was like a French magazine that was like, it's Los Angeles art, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
like it's not that big in Los Angeles.
I'm going to Strasbourg in September normally, and yeah, that's the whole point. Even though I'm Belgian, I still come from America. See,
Nice. But I swear, like everything. I mean, we had you on talking about European comics, but everything you've described about France and cartooning just makes me want to like up and move to France.
Well, they're having problems right now. I don't know if you know about the yellow jackets, and
oh no, I don't.
Problems right now, and especially in Paris, it's hot right now because of the president there that's adding taxes to taxes and taxes, and he's a total idiot. But what can you do?
Is it Yellow Jackets some kind of a political term, or are you talking about actual Yellow Jackets?
Not the jazz band that I went to see.
No, I meant like Yellow Jackets, like the wasp.
No, I was thinking literal wasps or bees.
Are the kids in the streets that are rebelling against the taxes.
Okay, all right, got it.
So there's a lot of, cars are overturned, burned, and stuff. I mean,
oh man,
yeah. If you look at Paris, you look at Yellow Jackets, Paris.
Well, because wasn't there just like a big riot and like tear gassing and all that kind of stuff? Yeah.
And the kids wear this light yellow jacket. It's not just the kids, but and then there are the looters that take advantage of that. But right now, and it's not good to be in France right now.
Right.
Yeah,
it's pretty dangerous. Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, I mean, my daughter is going back. I might be going to see my mom this summer, but definitely in September. I think I'm going to be in Strasbourg if everything goes well. I have my appointment with my cardiologist next month. I do have some issues. It's been 5 years since my triple bypass, so let's hope everything goes well. Like I said, I hope it's my 60th birthday. After that, I'll be fine.
Well, I think we're right there with you. We hope you do too. So
it's funny. I think it has a lot to do with your attitude, how you heal. Like when I had my triple bypass, they didn't understand why I was joking just before I got the operation, and I answered either I get out feet first, or you saved me. Either way, I might as well have a last joke. And so we had a lot of fun with the. I had a lot of fun with until I fell asleep, and then I woke up with pain, of course. But I'm not looking forward to another bypass, but it might happen. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh man, well, Robert in the chat said we're hoping for you, Vincent, and said stay strong, brother.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Like I said, attitude is everything. I think. Well, it's not everything, but it's a lot. So I've got the attitude. But thank you so much. Was that Robert? You said?
Yeah. It's been thanks to everybody in the chats. It's been a really active one today.
Yeah.
It started off slow. Like first there was like nobody, then it keeps going. So yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and then Keeman said she has a February birthday too, so I guess there's 3 Februaries here. I feel like in my
I just left a comment that's it. This February is the shortest month, so there's not that many of us around. So
yeah,
but there's I have some in my family that are, and my son is the 1st of February. So.
Huh. Wow. Yeah. It's a good month.
It's a good month, man.
So let's hope next year's a good year, that we accomplish a lot of the stuff we're hoping to, and that we make some stuff and continue to cheat fate by making stuff. Because I really, this is something that kind of dawned on me at the end of this last year, how kind of just existentially ridiculous it is that we're making art. Like it goes against, it goes against a lot of things to be making things and to be and also to be cheating it. And even if we're making $1 doing it, it's like we're getting paid to make this stuff that's on like really cheap material, and yet we make something new out of it that like if you were observing it from another planet, you'd have no idea what the hell this stuff is. And yet we're cheating and we're doing it. And if we can get away with another year of cheating and doing it.
I don't know if you guys feel the same, but every time I go to the store, the heavier the bags are of my grocery shopping, the more thankful I am that this came out of my head, in my hand.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I feel like anything we're getting to do that comes from this silly thing we do, which is a great thing, and we've all kind of dedicated our lives to. I think that's great. So I'm hoping for another year that maybe we can grow it and
I hope so too. I hope for everyone.
Yeah. Thanks to everybody who joined us in the chats. Kevin mentioned his daughter's of February.
There you go. Yay, well. February.
So February is like winning. I feel really isolated in my little May bubble. But hey, I get the rights of spring. That's all I'm saying. All right. So I guess we've been going a while, right?
Yeah, I think we're probably over the typical times.
Yeah. That happens every time we have Vincent on, because Vincent, you're a charming, brilliant guy, and
say it because I'm a blabbermouth. That's how we get over.
Hey, but you can be succinct on Twitter. So
yes.
All right. So thanks to everybody who joined us in the chats, and I hope you guys all have a really strong 2019 too. It does look like Scott and I are going to try to make next week work. So that'll be the last show of the year. So make sure you guys all show up there. Vincent, again, thank you for being on. It's always a pleasure. And before we leave, let's let everybody know where to find us. So Vincent, everybody who's watching, your Instagram's been mentioned multiple times. There's a lot of cool art on there. You want to let everybody know where they go on Instagram to find you and
Facebook too. Something like that.
So you'd find that by going to Vincent Deporter, right?
Yeah. If you, I feel bad saying that, but just Google my name, Vincent, and then you'll see my Facebook, my Instagram, and even my Twitter, which that I'm not advertising because that's a little bit my dark side.
Nice. Although if you want to see the dark side, join the Twitter, because it's actually a really fun, thoughtful dark side. I like that dark side. All right, Scott, I'll do mine because I always forget, but Scott is going to tell you guys how to sign up for the mailing list. So right now, biggest thing I want to promote is go to T Fury on Saturday. I think that's Saturday, the 21st. Is that Saturday? I think it is.
Somebody said it was the Friday, but I'm not sure here.
Oh, wait, today is the 20th, so that's tomorrow. So tomorrow, when you're online, go to T Fury, and you will find historical superheroes.
I wonder if it's up now. It's past 12, at least where we are. Maybe it's up now. I don't know when they go live with it.
I don't know. It's 11 here, and I think they're in LA. So
they're in LA. Okay.
But yeah, so go there, look for historical superheroes, and buy one if you want to support me, because I get a little piece of that. It's a collaboration because a friend of mine who's actually also kind of a bit of a comedian gave me the bit to work with, and so we're splitting it because I think his concept was good. And yeah, it'll be up for a day. And then you can also go to topis.io if you haven't yet and subscribe to Quarterly Stories. You do that by adding it to your library there. I'm like almost at the point where I guess if I get it's like some small number, like 6 more subscribers, and I'll start making advertising revenue on it. So I might actually pull in like a couple cents, which I wouldn't mind. So join that, and then quarterlystories.com, and that's pretty much all of my stuff. Scott, where can people find you after they sign up for your mailing list and after they've realized, like, this guy's lost his mind, we need to cash in, get this free comic toolkit? Where should they go?
Yeah, so that's at circworks.com. It's the comic maker starter kit. Brushes, templates, halftones, fonts, all basically anything you need to make comics, to get started making comics. It's at my website at circworks.com. Other than that, I got a YouTube channel. It's Circworks on YouTube. And if you join my mailing list, there's another mailing list you should also join, and that is the Artcasters mailing list. And with that one, we don't spam you or anything like that. All it is like, because YouTube, the way it is with the algorithms and stuff, even if you subscribe to our channels, you're not always notified when we go live and everything. And also sometimes we'll go live at different times, different days or whatever. And it switches back and forth between Josh's channel and my channel. So it's always different. So if you want to know exactly where we're going to be and when we're going to be, the best way to do that is just to sign up for the mailing list. And usually we'll try about a half hour before we go live to send out a little newsletter just to alert everyone we're going to be, and that'll have a link. So yeah, like I said, we don't spam you or anything. We just like to notify you when a new episode's coming up. So join the mailing list for Artcasters, and that is in the description of this video.
Awesome. All right, we will see you guys next week. Bye.
And thanks to Vincent, and thanks to the chat.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Of course.